So as was said, this is, I think, the most important topic, and I'm really glad that Ruchi from VMware spoke to it earlier, because I think as product marketers, it's something that we really need to focus attention and strategy in doing this. And so what you're gonna get from me is a lot of similarities to what Ruchi said, but also a very different perspective from how we position the role of product marketing to be successful and to have impact. One perspective, take for it what you like. Hopefully there's something you can use in your own world. So a little bit about me. Yeah, I didn't build slides for an iMac, so it's a little kind of crazy for me. So I've been in startups, product marketing for about 15 years. I have experience in early stage, hyper growth, public companies, so a lot of different experiences I've had in my career. I live in Boston currently. I used to be in the Bay Area, but when you marry someone from Boston, you move there, is my saying. So I live there, we have a son. And my hobbies include movie quotes and Yorker cartoons, and they're sprinkled throughout this presentation, so you're gonna see quite a few of them to keep it lively. About Workato, the company I work for, we were founded in 2013. We are a leader in enterprise automation, or we call this integration automation. So what we do is we automate business processes that cross over multiple systems as part of an orchestrated workflow. So if you think about how employees are onboarded, how you think about how you close financial transactions, all of these cross over multiple systems with your company, and you have to integrate data and also orchestrate a business process as part of that. That's what we do. We're in hypergrowth, as I mentioned. We went from 300 to 900 employees in 2021. So you're gonna see a point of view here that's focused on hypergrowth. Not every company has this kind of focus. We focus mostly on like, what can we do to grow as fast as we can? So that's the perspective I have here. I don't talk a ton about working with product management. That's a really important part of my job and what I do every day, but I don't focus on that. Maybe an eventual version of this presentation will have that. And we've been fortunate enough to be recognized as a CNBC Disruptor, Forbes Cloud 100, a best place to work, not only in general, but also as a remote worker. We're based in Mountain View, but as you can see, I'm in Boston, so our whole team is remote. All right, how we've structured our team. So we have 3 distinct business segments. We have a commercial segment, which is under a certain number of annual revenue of those companies that we sell to. We have an embed segment, if you're familiar with OEM or white label. We do that at scale. A lot of companies only do strategic OEM deals 1 or 2 a year. We do 10s, 20s, 30s, hundreds a quarter. And then we have an enterprise segment that focuses on companies above a certain revenue line. We also have horizontal functions in our team, one focusing on customer intelligence. That team is the heartbeat of what we do. They interview customers all the time, what they're doing, the value they're generating, and they produce assets for the field, for other product marketers, and for our website and content to communicate what customers are doing out in the world. We have competitive intelligence. See a lot of the Clue team here. Yeah. So we do competitive intel, focused on how do we understand our competition, how do we position in deals, how do we help reps win against certain competition. We have a very, very broad competitive landscape, so competitive intel is very important to us. All right, so with that context around me, the company, what we do, I wanted to bring up this question of like, are we at the peak of product marketing here? And you know, I've been in this space for 15 years. I would never imagine a hashtag PMM in my career at a conference. I never thought this would actually get here. So I want to talk about, are we at the peak of PMM? Just raise that question. So when I was graduating from college, if you wanted to go into business, you were thinking about a few different things. A lot of my colleagues were thinking about going to banking, you know, the Apple in this scenario. A lot of people were going to management consulting, maybe an Orange. I chose the chicken wing. I was not qualified to do either the Apple or the Orange regardless, but I chose something completely different, went out on a limb. I'm very thankful I've done that. It's been a very rewarding career for me so far. And I was thinking about that when I was prepping for this presentation. This is Google Trends data. This is the 15 years that I've been in this landscape in product marketing and was tracking like, okay, investment banking is blue, management consulting is in red, product marketing is in yellow. If you look at the trends over the past 15 years, those two that I decided not to do have been going down. product marketing has been going up, even to the point where product marketing has actually surpassed those two professions. That kind of blew my mind. I never thought product marketing would ever get to that height. And this doesn't seem to be slowing down. I mean, PMA has done quite a bit on communicating, advocating for the value of product marketing, a strategic role. And this is not just PMA, it's a lot of other outlets, and a lot of companies are realizing the value of product marketing as a strategic function within organizations. And I think this is just absolutely amazing thing for all of us as product marketers to be benefiting from. So, but what's next? It wouldn't be a product marketing conference if I didn't show a hype cycle graph, right? So are we moving into the trough of disillusionment from product marketing perspective, or are we on the path of enlightenment? Where are we in this evolution of product marketing? It's my question. And I'm especially concerned because of all the hype around product marketing, also contrasted with what's going on in the economy and what's going on in our industry right now. And you would have to be blind if you didn't see the layoffs that are happening. I think we need, as product marketers, need to make sure that we're positioning product marketing in the right way, in our companies, within our teams, as the strategic value driver that it is. And if we don't, I think we might be in trouble. And so let's ensure that we're on the slope of enlightenment, or, as this cartoon says, even past that. Okay, so how does this relate to the most important positioning of my career, the most clickbaity headline or title for a talk you could ever have? What it comes down to is, how do you position your role? How do you position your priorities? And how do you position your impact? I think we all need to focus on that as product marketers and be very, very, very intentional on how we do that. All right, so let's talk about the role of product marketing. How many people have this conversation in companies? So what is it actually that you do as a product marketer? Does anyone have that conversation with people in their companies? It's a fun one, right? Yeah. So your colleagues may think, oh, you're in product marketing. You guys do all this stuff. It's great. You do AR, you do enablement, you do decks, you do positioning, you do product launches, you do all this great stuff. That's great. It's great that they think that. But if you're talking to someone who works with their hands and who's maybe in construction or a builder, what do they say they do when you ask them? They don't say, I use hammers and screwdrivers. You'd be like, who are you? What is that answer? What they say is, I use hammers and screwdrivers to build houses. Think about the things that were on this previous slide. Let's see. All right. All of these things are our tools. These are the tools that we use to make an impact at our company. So we don't say we just do that. We say we use this to make an impact, right? So what do we use our tools to do? What do we use our tools to do? At our company, we're focused on, as I mentioned, using these tools for growth. So you'll see a very growth-oriented version of this, but your company needs to figure this out. Your team needs to figure this out in your own right. All right, so let's talk about how do we position this role of product marketing. So a wise person once told me, this is the best definition of product marketing I've ever seen, the role of product marketing is to make every element of the marketing funnel operate more efficiently. And that way, our role is a multiplier, a highly leverageable position. Now, I was at dinner with, once again, the Clue team, shout out you guys once again, last night. We were complaining about ratios, like PM to PMM ratio, sales to PMM ratio, all these different things. And yes, I'm an advocate for hiring PMMs. I'm an advocate for growing our teams, but our skill set isn't one-to-one. It's one-to-many. And so we need to think about ourselves as anything we do, we need to get incredible leverage out of. Scale incredibly. That's what we need to do. And so in that sense, every PMM hire is highly strategic, and you have this ability to leverage that in a massive way. And I think that's such an exciting thing about being a product marketer. So very, very simple measure of the funnel. Our role is to make this scale faster, more efficiently. We look at every area of the funnel and be like, what can we do to scale it faster? And what can we do to make that more efficient from a spend perspective, from a time perspective, from a resource perspective? And we do that using all of our tools. My tool belt. We use that with all of our tools as product marketers. That's what we do. All right. And if you don't position yourself, you're going to get positioned by someone else. And trust me, that is not a good thing. Does anyone, people know this reference, hopefully? Thank you. Good. I don't want to be dating myself too much. But if we don't position ourselves, then you will get positioned by someone else. So this happened to me recently, or in my career, where my customer marketing team had done a great job. We went from 0 case studies to just way too many. And they're like, I think we're good on case studies. Maybe we should slow down growth in that team or look to position them somewhere else. I did a bad job of positioning the value of that team because all they thought about them is building case studies. They didn't think about them as the impact. So we need to be very intentional with this all the time. And even I make this mistake all the time as well, even though I'm kind of maniacal about this stuff, as you can see. All right, so how do we go do this? This is an eye chart, and it's very quickly put together. But this gives you a sense for how you think about these things in terms of the funnel stage, the owners that you need to work with, and the KPIs that those people care about, right? Top of funnel, you're thinking about content, PR, comms, corporate marketing, web. What are the things they care about? Share of voice, impressions, followers, sentiment, website traffic. Middle of funnel, talking about demand. So we're working with demand gen, SDRs, growth, biz dev. We're looking at pipeline, ops, ROAS. Anyone know what ROAS means? Yeah, every CEO is talking about ROAS nowadays. Every single CEO. Bottom of the funnel, sales enablement, sales engineering, looking at win rate, cycle time, ASP, rep ramping, competitive trends. Close 1, which is the onboarding and go live portion. That's CSM professional services. What's the time to go live? What's the win-loss NPS? And then retention and expansion with CSMs or account managers or expansion reps. That's what we focus on. We look at NRR, AQE, churn rate. NRR at our company, most important metric we look at by far. All right. So once you establish all of these different cross-functional owners that you're working with, the KPIs that they're measuring with, you got to build relationships and trust. You got to show them that you're not trying to step into their world. You're trying to show them that, hey, we're in this together. I want to help you meet your goals. I want to help you achieve what you've never achieved before together with you. I want to bring something to you. I don't want to sort of step in your world as a way to threaten you or your role. I want to help you get your job done, put me to work, essentially. And this has been a tough thing for our team at Workato. When we applied this type of method of PMM, they got a lot of pushback. They're like, demand gen's telling me, why are you messing with my pipeline numbers? Why are you messing with these different things? And you have to spend the time, spend the energy to build that trust, build the relationships to make sure that they know you're there for the better of the company. All right. So once you understand the people, KPIs, the goals, then you're trying to see okay, what's working that we can scale? What's working that we may need to fix? And what are the strategic initiatives that map to this funnel that we should sort of help take on? That can help, once again, grow faster, grow more efficiently. And so one of the things that we do as a company, you'll see this in a later slide, is we score things. So I score them just I look at data and then I do a summary, which is this is green, this is red, this is yellow. And these are scoring to be we feel like we're doing this pretty well, or we have confirmation that we're doing this well. We feel like we're not doing this not as well, or this is okay, just okay. And so you're looking at the different things that are working well that we might want to pour gas on, that are working well that we should probably dig into, and what are the strategic initiatives that we want to potentially add into this. And that could be total top of funnel is green. It could be specific things in each of these funnels aren't working well that we need to dig into. It's up to you and how you want to approach that. And then this is what the woman from VMware talked about a lot. You need to be an expert in data to do this really well. You need to get in the weeds of the data, or get your team in the weeds of data. So when I joined Workato a year and a half ago, our CEO talks to people and he says, 3 weeks in, he's like, so you have fresh mindset, fresh eyes. What's going on? What do you need? What isn't working here? And I said, I don't have the data that I need to work in the way that I want to work. And so he said, go tell me what you need. So I just wrote up 3 pages and said, this is exactly what I need. So it's a good job on a CEO. Every time someone comes with a complaint, you say, all right, go figure that out, or put them to work. So he was as a leader, did that to me, and so I did this. So I wrote out every single thing across that funnel that I wanted to see, and I didn't want to go find it in different places. I wanted someone to work with someone to bring that in a central place. It's huge. Data is important to do this well. You also need benchmarks. So benchmarks for me are leverage, right? It helps me understand, are we doing well in these areas, or are we doing as well as we should be based on the type of company we are, how big we are, the market we sell into. And so you really need to understand how we measure against different people that look and smell like us. And so we're lucky enough, we have a venture partner that has access to a lot of different companies. And they actually do an amazing job where they'll say, hey, across these metrics, this is where you guys are doing great against best in class or against average of our portfolio. This is where you need to work on. These are the things that we see based on the companies that we work with. So a lot of you, I'm sure, work at venture-backed companies. See if they have this data, or see if they can connect you to someone, because you need to be able to understand how we want to benchmark ourselves against the competition, and that will help you understand where you're doing well, where you're not doing well. There's also a lot of industry benchmarks that you can get, and just start to understand that. Now, no benchmark is perfect. It's just a data point in a decision process or in the way of making an argument. And also leverage your network. The way I got my job I'm in today is I just was networking. I reached out to a friend of mine who works at Workato. I was like, hey, I want to understand how you guys approach this. I'm struggling at my current company. And he said, great, talk to our CMO. Talked to him, 20-minute phone call at the end of it. He's like, do you want to interview for a job here? So I didn't do that going into it, but network with your peers and understand what they're seeing, how they approach these problems, what benchmarks they see. You're just collecting data that then helps you form a decision on what you need to prioritize. And then the prioritization process, everyone has a different approach. This is not what we do at Workato, but this is an example of a common cost-benefit analysis within product management that does for engineering. You can do this as a PMM. Look at all the initiatives that you have. Look at potential benefit around revenue, customer value, long-time strategic value. Also look at the cost associated with it. So what's the effort? What's the time? What are the risks associated with that? If that helps you make a decision for what to prioritize, use it. A lot of my team uses that internally, and it's super beneficial to them. And then we are a big OKR shop. I am an OKR evangelist in a certain right. Did anyone use OKRs in their team? Okay, great. So I don't have to talk too much about it. But we used something called, it's a version of OKRs. It's like VMT. So there's a vision, a method, and then a target. So what we do is we have themes here, which are themes that we want to focus on. Then we have the methods that we're going to do that align to that theme. And then we have the impact that we want to have this make. So when you first start your OKR development, we do this on an annual basis, and we also do it on a quarterly basis. I put everything down. Everything we talk about, I put down just so everyone can see it, and we can get feedback on it. This is super rough. I actually don't recommend you land on your OKRs with this, but I recommend you start here and then whittle down. I'll show you how. All right, so we're done, right? No. So then how do we want to position this in the company? Time to position. So similar to Ruchi at VMware, you got to get time to review and get buy-in with your stakeholders. We have, I think she was referring to pod structure. We do have a pod structure in our company. Every segment has its own pod. You have aligned people, events, partners, sales, SDR, enablement, and we sort of line them all up. So if I'm the PMM for a certain segment, I build my OKR rough draft, and then I share them with them and get feedback and try to get alignment on what are the metrics that we can uniquely own or own that drive success. So with demand gen, SDR, how can we partner on some pipeline numbers? How can we partner on some conversion channel numbers? With sales, can we get the win rate up? All of these things make that funnel faster, more efficient. It's all we focus on. So when you review this, we get feedback. The blue is things that we change based on these conversations. The strikeouts are things we remove. So I try to take out as much as I can. If I don't have 3 or 4 targets, and we have a long way to go on this, I feel like we have too much. 3 or 4 targets that we're trying to influence, there's too much in each of these focus areas. So that's the way we do it. It's pretty effective. And then as you're sharing your OKRs with these cross-functional leaders and you're showing them how you want to prioritize their time and measure your success, they're realizing that you're not thinking about the role as I do DEX, I do enablement, I do these things to drive an impact here. And in product marketing, the challenge is like a lot of these things aren't things that you can fully own. You need these partners to own with you. But you need to show that you're putting your skin in the game with them together around quantitative metrics that aren't just, we got 5 white papers done, we got 5 white papers done to drive X metric. That's the focus there. And then you need to sell. You need to sell internally. You need to get people bought in, get people excited to go on this journey with you to say, we're gonna go take down that metric, we're gonna go do that. And you gotta get people in that boat and rowing with you together. That's so important, so important. And you know, I was interviewing some PMM candidate the other day, and I was like, when are you gonna sell this vision that you have during the interview? He was trying to explain to me to the sales team and get them excited about it. If you don't get these other cross-functional areas excited about it, you're just gonna do things in a silo that there is no impact. So you gotta get people excited. You gotta get people to sell into this strategy. And then we do this, so we do this on an annual basis, and we do it on a quarterly basis. So we measure, we score, we draft the next quarters, and then we review with the team and finalize. That's kind of how we do that on a pretty regular cycle. And it moves us in the right direction. All right, so how do we say, is this working? So scoring, I was thinking about this. You will start slowly. You will not nail everything out of the box. So this is like a common quarter when we started moving down this path. So we track whether we got the stuff done we said we would get done, and then what we said, did we drive the impact that we said we would drive? And we score that too, and I summarize it, I share it out, and that if there's something that we still need to do, it moves into the next quarter. If there's something that we decide we're just not gonna be able to move the needle on it, we drop it. And then ideally, over time, as you get this moving in the right direction, you're gonna get results. You're gonna get quantitative feedback. So we track win rates. And this is actually pretty normal. As you move in this direction, you might have to slow down or take a little bit of a pause to actually speed up. And that's what happened when we went down this path. We actually had win rates go down, and then they started moving back up as we sort of got success with what we wanted to do with the sales team here. So it's the quantitative feedback that's the most important here. And also, I was at a QBR last week, and kind of like the feedback, one of these reps came to me, he's like, it's so exciting to see that you guys are actually like in it with us. You're not just like a marketing team that just puts marketing out there. You're actually focused on the same goals that we're focused on, and that's refreshing to see. And so that's the stuff that you want to feel, and that's like a great outcome of this process. When people ask me, what is a good sign 60 days in that we're having success here? If I get qualitative feedback that's unprovoked, unasked, like I don't ask anyone, they just come to me and say this. That is like an absolutely great sign that we're doing something well, you are doing something well on our team. And that's it. So work's never done, but this is why we have this role. When you drive impact and you get people sort of in this way of saying, hey, what you're doing is actually making a difference and it makes me excited to work with you, that's why we do this job. That's why I do this job. And so that's when you know you're on the right path. So that's it. I think I have a few minutes for questions here.
Questions for Will? This is going there. I'm really glad to see, Will, that what you're saying, I mean, this morning when I talked about go-to-market and pods and all of this, like you're talking the same thing.
Yeah.
Ruchi was talking the same thing, so great.
Hi, thank you for this wonderful session. I wanted to ask you about the metrics. Because they are shared metrics, it's really hard to prove that your work is what made the difference. And so how do you prove PMM work within the shared metric?
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. You have to sort of get partnership with that other owner of that metric. And so what we do internally is we'll do two things. We'll show the general trend from a quantitative perspective, and then we'll show specific examples within, let's say, a closed won deal or within a pipeline, a segment of the pipeline where they're actually using things that we're developing, or that we're working on, that actually move the needle in those specific examples. Once again, it's not perfect. That's one thing that we do to help prove internally that we're having an impact is the high-level trend, and then specific examples where something that we did or a single person on my team had an impact in moving that specific one forward. That was like representative of that trend. That's one thing that we do, but it's not perfect.
Thank you.
Hi, I was curious about the OKR process that you went through, and you shared how you tried to whittle it down. You hit for a smaller number of impactful activities.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you worked through the items that you were able to strike out with your partners. I have, and I'm sure many of us have things, they all want everything all at once right now. So tell me about that, what's this like for you?
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's just a judgment call you got to make. Either you challenge, like, so what I'll do when we do this is sort of like go through that process and then share with my team on a call or with the specific individual and be like, hey, this is what I think is the final number of things that we can actually get done well. Can you do this? Because we actually tie comp to some of these numbers. And so when you tie comp to it, it's a different conversation versus like, these are numbers in the ether that like nothing matters. And so that's, I guess, one thing that we do. And we do comp like company performance, sales performance, and then actually company performance is sales performance, company performance, and then like the OKR performance. And so it's not 100% on their variable, but there is a piece of their variable that's tied to some of these metrics. And that forces like pretty ruthless prioritization on their mind to be like, hey, if I'm getting comped on this, I only want these different things. And similar to me, if I'm getting comped on it, I'm only gonna focus on those things. And so we have eventually moved to that model. That's what works for us. Does that answer your question? Cool.
So for a solo PMM with an organization that has a huge portfolio of products, that everything that's been done so far was all driven by the sales team. Where would you focus or prioritize to kind of show that value? Since the marketing team essentially is brand new.
So who do you report to in that scenario?
So I report to the VP of marketing, but I work directly with the head of product and head of sales, and then the CEO is a big part of it as well.
Do you guys have any like company level OKRs or no?
They have not company level. The product team built some OKRs recently.
Okay. I mean, where you would start, what I would do, and it's a good question, maybe we can catch up to understand more. I would start probably with the revenue numbers and be like, okay, let's look at the revenue performance that we've had. What's the performance for next quarter? And what do we need to do to hit that number? And as marketers, even though we're in product marketing, pipeline is still the lifeblood of every company. I would probably start there and focus on what can I do to actually impact pipeline as a PMM. And then that's like, without a ton of context, like where I would probably start thinking about. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other question?
Cool, and once again, like this whole focus, there's a whole part of product management that we work with. Didn't focus on it here. Wanted to focus only on the growth stuff. Hopefully it's helpful. Appreciate all the questions.
Actually,
yeah.
I have a question,
Yeah.
Bill. So it had a pretty good chart of all these KPIs, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that, I mean, I am challenged with, is that kind of building these KPIs, but, like many times I feel that some of these, I am just doing it. I'm not like the whole cross-functionally, the pod that I talk about, it took 3 years for me to kind of have a common understanding and belief in this. So for someone like him or newer people, do you have any tips or tricks there that, like some of the metrics that we kind of come together easily, faster than others?
So the question is, what are the metrics that are probably easiest to get alignment on most quickly without
Yeah.
like a ton of, I think pipeline win rate, if you own competitive win rate, and then if you own enablement, you want to be looking at rep ramp time. You want to be looking at like how quickly do they get to productivity as a rep perspective. Quota attainment is another one. Those are things that I think like your company probably is already tracking, and those are things that you can align yourselves to. Those are the things that immediately come to mind for me, but every company I think operates a little differently. Yeah.
Cool.
Hi, Will. So I have a question for you. I'm a student who just graduated from college,
Mhm.
and I was wondering if you have any advice for early career PMM.
Yeah. So when I got out of school, as I mentioned, I wasn't qualified to have an investment banking job or a management consulting job. I actually wasn't qualified to have any job. And so I just went and started working for free for a company, put it on my LinkedIn, and then got recruited out of there. So what I would do, if you have the resources to do this, I would go work for a company for free that you think is pretty interesting or is something that you want to do, get experience, get it on your LinkedIn, and you will get plopped out of there once you get a little experience, pretty sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Cool. All right, thanks everyone, appreciate it.
Thanks, Will.